The Heist Part 2. The victory at the race had given the crew a much-needed boost, but they knew it was only the beginning. Back at the hideout, they gathered around the holographic display, reviewing the intel they had gathered. Marco had come through, providing them with detailed information about the syndicate's operations and key players. "All right, let's break this down," Alex said, pointing to the display. The syndicate is led by a figure known only as the Shadow. No one knows their real identity, but they're the mastermind behind everything. The Shadow? Jake scoffed. Sounds like something out of a comic book. Don't underestimate them, Marco warned. The Shadow is ruthless and has a network of loyal followers. They've been expanding their influence, taking over territories and eliminating rivals. Do we have any leads on their location? Lisa asked. Marco nodded. There's a warehouse in the industrial district that's heavily guarded. It's rumored to be one of their main bases of operations. If we can infiltrate it, we might find out more about the Shadow and their plans. The crew agreed to investigate the warehouse, knowing it would be a dangerous mission. They spent the next few days preparing, gathering equipment and fine-tuning their vehicles. They knew they had to be ready for anything. The night of the mission, the crew approached the warehouse under the cover of darkness. Mia had hacked into the security system, disabling the cameras and alarms. They moved silently, sticking to the shadows as they made their way inside. The warehouse was a maze of crates and machinery, much like the one they had encountered before. The crew split up, each member taking a different route to cover more ground. They communicated through their earpieces, sharing updates and coordinating their movements. "Keep an eye out for anything suspicious," Alex whispered. "We need to find out what they're planning." As they searched the warehouse, they came across a series of documents and blueprints. Sam scanned them quickly, his eyes widening as he realized what they were looking at. "Guys, you need to see this," Sam said, his voice urgent. "These are plans for a major heist. They're targeting a high-security convoy transporting valuable tech." "Looks like they're planning to hit it tomorrow night," Mia added, her eyes scanning the documents. "If they pull this off, they'll have enough resources to expand their operations even further." "We can't let that happen," Alex said, his jaw set. "We need to stop them." Just then, the sound of footsteps echoed through the warehouse. The crew tensed, their hands moving to their weapons. A group of armed guards appeared, their guns trained on the crew. "Drop your weapons," one of the guards shouted. The crew complied, knowing they were outnumbered. They were led to a central office, where a figure stood with their back to them. The figure turned, revealing a face partially hidden by a mask. "Welcome," the figure said, their voice cold and calculating. "I've been expecting you." "The Shadow," Alex said, his eyes narrowing. The Shadow chuckled. "You have no idea what you're up against. My plans are already in motion, and there's nothing you can do to stop me." "We'll see about that," Alex replied, his voice steady. The Shadow's eyes gleamed with amusement. "You're brave, I'll give you that. But bravery won't save you." Before the crew could react, the lights went out, plunging the room into darkness. The sound of gunfire and chaos filled the air as the crew fought to escape. They managed to break free, using their skills and teamwork to outmaneuver the guards. They regrouped outside the warehouse, their breaths coming in heavy gasps. They had escaped, but they knew they were in deeper trouble than ever. "We need to stop that convoy," Alex said, his voice determined. "It's our only chance to take down the Shadow and their syndicate." The crew nodded, their resolve stronger than ever. They knew the road ahead would be dangerous, but they were ready for the fight. They had each other, and that was all they needed. The crew had no time to waste. The convoy carrying the valuable tech was scheduled to depart the following night, and they needed a solid plan to intercept it. Back at the hideout, they gathered around the holographic display, reviewing the convoy's route and security details. "All right, here's the plan," Alex said, pointing to the map. "The convoy will be heavily guarded, so we'll need to split up and create multiple points of attack. Mia, you'll handle the tech, disable their communications and security systems. Jake and Lisa, you'll take out the lead and rear vehicles. Sam and I will go for the main transport." "Got it," Mia said, her fingers already flying over her laptop's keyboard. "I'll have their systems down by the time you reach the convoy." Jake cracked his knuckles, a determined look on his face. "Let's do this." The crew spent the rest of the day preparing, fine-tuning their vehicles and going over the plan. They knew this mission would be their most dangerous yet, but they were ready to face whatever came their way. As night fell, they set out, their cars roaring through the city streets. They reached the convoy's route and took their positions, waiting for the right moment to strike. The tension was palpable, each member of the crew focused and ready. "Here they come," Alex said over the comms as the convoy appeared in the distance. Mia hacked into the convoy's systems, disabling their communications and security cameras. "You're clear. Go." Jake and Lisa moved first, their cars speeding towards the lead and rear vehicles. They executed their maneuvers with precision, forcing the convoy to a halt. The guards scrambled to respond, but the crew was already in motion. Alex and Sam targeted the main transport, their cars flanking it on either side. They used grappling hooks to latch onto the transport, pulling it to a stop. The guards opened fire, but the crew was prepared, using their cars as shields. "Move in," Alex shouted. The crew sprang into action, engaging the guards in a fierce firefight. Jake's brute strength and Lisa's agility proved invaluable as they took down their opponents. Sam used his tactical skills to outmaneuver the guards, while Alex provided cover fire. Mia stayed in her car, monitoring the situation and providing real-time updates. "You've got more guards incoming. Watch your six." The crew fought their way to the transport, finally reaching the cargo hold. They pried open the doors, revealing the valuable tech inside, advanced weaponry and surveillance equipment that could tip the balance of power in the city. "We need to get this out of here," Alex said, his voice urgent. "Load it up and let's move." As they transferred the tech to their cars, the sound of approaching sirens filled the air. The police had been alerted, and they were closing in fast. "Time to go," Sam shouted. The crew sped away, the convoy's guards and the police in hot pursuit. The chase that followed was a blur of flashing lights, screeching tires, and heart-pounding adrenaline. The crew used their driving skills and tech gadgets to outmaneuver their pursuers, weaving through traffic and creating obstacles. Just when it seemed like they might escape, a helicopter appeared overhead, shining a spotlight on them. "Hang on," Alex yelled. Lisa swerved into an underground tunnel, the helicopter losing sight of them. They emerged on the other side, the city skyline stretching out before them. "We did it," Jake said, a grin spreading across his face. But their celebration was short-lived. As they reached their hideout, they discovered a tracking device on one of the crates. "Looks like someone knew we were coming," Sam said, his expression grim. The crew exchanged worried glances. This was just the beginning of a much larger and more dangerous game. "We need to figure out who planted this and why," Alex said. "But for now, let's get this tech secured and lay low." The crew's hideout was filled with a tense silence as they secured the stolen tech. The tracking device they had found was a stark reminder that their enemies were always one step ahead. Alex gathered the team around the central table, a holographic display showing the tracking device's signal. "We need to figure out who planted this and why," Alex said, his voice steady. "Mia, can you trace the signal?" Mia nodded, already at her laptop. "Give me a few minutes." As Mia worked, the rest of the crew took a moment to catch their breath. Jake leaned against a workbench, his muscles still tense from the chase. Lisa checked the crates for any other surprises, while Sam reviewed the security footage they had captured during the heist. "Whoever these guys are, they knew we were coming," Sam said, his voice low. "This wasn't just a random security measure." Alex stopped pacing and looked at his team. "We need to be ready for anything. This isn't over." Mia's fingers flew over the keyboard, her eyes focused on the screen. "Got it. The signal is coming from an abandoned factory on the outskirts of town. Looks like a trap." "Great," Jake muttered. "Just what we needed." "We need to be smart about this," Alex said. "We'll split up. Mia, Jake, and Lisa, you stay here and keep an eye on the tech. Sam and I will check out the factory." The crew agreed, knowing they had to be cautious. Alex and Sam geared up and headed out, their cars roaring through the city streets. They reached the factory and parked a few blocks away, approaching on foot. The factory was old and rundown, with broken windows and rusted machinery. Alex and Sam moved silently, sticking to the shadows as they made their way inside. The air was thick with tension, every creak and groan of the building putting them on edge. They reached a central office, where a group of men were gathered around a table, discussing something in hushed tones. Alex signaled for Sam to take position, and they burst into the room, weapons drawn. "Who are you working for?" Alex demanded. One of the men, a tall figure with a scar across his cheek, stepped forward. "You're making a big mistake," he said, his voice calm. "You have no idea what you're getting into." "Try me," Alex replied, his grip tightening on his gun. The man smirked. "We're just the middlemen. The real power is much higher up. But I can tell you this, you're in way over your heads." Before Alex could respond, the sound of footsteps echoed through the factory. The room was suddenly filled with armed guards, their guns trained on Alex and Sam. "Drop your weapons," one of the guards shouted. Alex and Sam complied, knowing they were outnumbered. They were led to a central office, where a figure stood with their back to them. The figure turned, revealing a face partially hidden by a mask. "Welcome," the figure said, their voice cold and calculating. "I've been expecting you." "The shadow," Alex said, his eyes narrowing. The shadow chuckled. "You have no idea what you're up against. My plans are already in motion, and there's nothing you can do to stop me." "We'll see about that," Alex replied, his voice steady. The shadow's eyes gleamed with amusement. "You're brave, I'll give you that. But bravery won't save you." Before Alex could react, the lights went out, plunging the room into darkness. The sound of gunfire and chaos filled the air as Alex and Sam fought to escape. They managed to break free, using their skills and teamwork to outmaneuver the guards. They regrouped outside the factory, their breaths coming in heavy gasps. They had escaped, but they knew they were in deeper trouble than ever. "We need to get back to the hideout," Alex said, his voice urgent. "The others might be in danger." They raced back to the hideout, their minds racing with worry. When they arrived, they found the place in disarray. The tech was gone, and Mia, Jake, and Lisa were nowhere to be found. "Looks like we've been double-crossed," Sam said, his expression grim. Alex clenched his fists, his mind racing. "We need to find them and get that tech back. This isn't over."